You should have it reviewed by lots of people, not just one person, not just one service. You really need to get it reviewed. All right, personal statements. What is a personal statement? First, I'm going to keep calling it that, but don't call it a personal statement. Call it a cover letter. Personal statement gives the wrong idea and people become very personal. It is not anything about test data. It is not someone else's perception of you. It's about who you are as a doctor. It's the only way that you can really talk about yourself, like I said before, outside of the interview and the rest of the application. So we're going to harp on some of these things because all of you have, if you go back and read your residency personal statement, I would say out of everyone in the third year and second year class, that's like 60 people, about 50 people have at least one of these things in their personal statement. A story, do not write a story about a mentor. This is about you. It's your one option to talk about you. It's not a paper on what you think the specialty is. I'll go a little bit more into depth what I mean by that. You need to show interest in the specialty, but not sound like someone who knows everything about the specialty who's actually never worked in the specialty, right? If you've never been a hematologist oncologist, don't tell a hematologist oncologist what hematology oncology is. All right, it's not a reincantation about your CV. It's not your most personal stories. Now, sometimes you have a personal struggle in life that really adds to who you are as a doctor and makes you a better doctor. But a lot of the time, those don't come off the way you want. So you want hundreds of people, or maybe not hundreds, at least 10 people reading through these things, giving you feedback. And then a personal statement is not something that should be done in the last minute. It's something that should be done over time with multiple revisions. All right, so this is from a personal statement that I was editing. While growing up, my family physician was a huge role model for me of my medical aspirations, no matter how many patients she saw. Like, all they're doing is talking about somebody else. Now, the idea they're trying to get across is they are like, or they want to be like that person. But you shouldn't be talking about anybody else. If you want to be like that person, show how you are that person, not how you're like that person. You don't want to waste their time talking about ideas, right? The road to medicine hasn't been the easiest for me. Okay, first off, never write that. But with every roadblock and hurdle, I've pushed harder and further to get to this point. I believe, so they're telling that they push through roadblocks, but they're not showing. They're not telling me, or they're not showing me who they are. They're not showing me the skills that they have earned from these roadblocks or overcoming them. Right? They say, I know from my experiences that I will be able to adapt to my care and help them navigate through difficulties. But they're not telling me anything about them. So having sentences like this really just hurt you. And I think the second one is very similar. Training and practice will allow me to enhance my skills in diagnosis and treatment. No crap, right? Why are you writing something like that? I mean, not you, but you don't want to write stuff that isn't telling me about you or showing me how you are a great doctor. Again, don't tell, show. I bring strong teamwork and interpersonal skills. First off, that's not even a sentence. Thirdly, I bring strong teamwork and interpersonal skills. Where do you bring it to? Where do you bring it from? What is it? What do you think those are? These are all these questions that pop up in our heads, which is why people don't really enjoy personal statements. They barely read them sometimes because they have a lot of these sentences. Instead, look at the two sentences that I wrote underneath. Now, the two sentences underneath are ways of kind of showing who you are. I'll let you read them instead of me reading them off. Right, so the first one is showing how you anticipated, you have procedural skills, that you knew that because of the code someone was going to need blood, so you just took care of it. No one told you to do it, no one asked you, you just knew what needed to get done, right? So it's really showing a lot of different skills all at once in one sentence. The second one really shows how, as an anesthesiologist, that person was trying to show that they can calm a patient down. I should read my own slides as I'm making you read them. All right, a bad way to talk about a specialty. This is awful, right? I think this was a student's one. They went on to talk about anesthesia as if they knew the specialty. You don't want to do this. Instead, you want to show you understand the specialty by using their language but by showing who you are as a doctor. It's a very difficult thing to do. That's why you have to write it out and have lots of people who are in this specialty read it over and over and over and over. Again, this one, this was an actual, the student didn't listen to me and I said, take this out or reword it in a way that's going to show your strengths. But this is something that could show up as a huge red flag for someone who's applying for a job or applying for a residency. Right? So if you open up, and this is the first sentence in someone's personal statement, it's kind of shocking. So avoid, I don't think any of you guys would have written something like this, but I just want to kind of point out anything even remotely, not even close to this, just you don't want to have on there, okay? All right, so how do you actually, so now that you've done all that other stuff and work for your CV, you wrote all of those things out. You wrote down what your dreams are, what your goals are, where you want to work. Again, where you want to work, all those, that's really important in the job search also. So when you are going to sit down and write for your personal statement, the easiest things to do are ask yourself who, what, when, how, where, how much, right? All the time, after every word, after every sentence. And you can just wind up writing and writing and writing just by asking these questions over and over and over. You can ask 1,500 who questions. And then on top of those who questions, you wind up with more who questions. So you can keep writing indefinitely. Don't do that. But here's an example, right? Who? I'm a doctor who deserves the best job and to work with the best, right? So I don't know what I want to write, so I just want the best job ever. Okay, so then I ask myself, all right, so what's the best job ever? Who works at the best job ever? When will I get the best job ever? How hard will I work at the best job ever? How hard is the best job ever? How much will I get paid at the best job ever? Where is it going to be located? Where will I work in the office? Where will I live in relation to the office? 5 minutes. So you can just keep going and going and going with these who, what, when, how, wheres. And you just keep writing all of it. Who, what, when, how, where. Who, what, when, how, where. And you can fill up pages. This is how I get my son to write stuff for English class. It's pain. So then what? A job. What do I want? I want a job as a trusted pediatrician in a moderate-sized practice. All right. Who? Well, who's applying? I'm applying. Well, who am I? Right, and that can go down a whole long type of track. Then what is the job? Where is the job? How is the job? And you just keep going and going and going. All right, so how do you actually do it? So that's the first start, and you got to brainstorm. You brainstorm and you just write. And then you want to start focusing, and you write more, you rewrite, you ask advice, you rewrite some more. So you're still going to get stuck. So this is something that I have been telling students and residents for years and years. One of the other things that you do as a brainstorming matter is you list, 15, 20 characteristics that you think the best doctor has, okay? And then on one side of the page, it doesn't have to be a filled out paper like this. It can be any paper that you have on home. On one side of the page, you write statements, how you exemplify that characteristic. And on the other side, in work, in job, in medicine. And then on the other side of the page, you write how you exemplify that work outside of medicine, volunteering, with your family, with your dog, whatever, right? And so this is an example of filling out all the different types of characteristics that you think the best doctors have. So if you think best doctors have these, this is what you need to show you have. It doesn't matter what other people are looking for. If you think these are most important, you will talk better about these and you will try to embody these much more than what someone else who's telling you should think of. So that's why I don't normally tell people what they should write. You just have to write the 10, 20 characteristics that you think are the most important or the best, the ones that the best doctors have. This is a very easy way to start your personal statement. You take some of the statements on the left, some of the statements on the right, you see how they relate to each other. You take ones from the top, ones from the bottom, combine them, you put them into paragraphs, even if they don't sound that great, and then you have the body of your story, right? Your body of your personal statement. And then you put a small introduction, you put where you want to go in life, and then you're done with the first draft. Now, you don't throw the rest of the work out that you've done already up to this point. You go back and forth, making sure it's really showing who you are, decreasing the words as much as possible, and also. All right, so that's how you start your personal statement. What do you do after that? You just keep rewriting. You give it to people. Let them give it back to you. When you give it to people, pick on something you don't like about it. If you don't give them something negative when you ask them to look at it, they're going to tell you it's fine. Most people, not everyone. So you want to give them something negative so they'll give you some negative feedback too. You need to know what you need to change. If you don't know what to change, you won't make it better. If you aren't going to give it to somebody else, why on earth are you going to give it to a future employer? That's nuts, right? Why would you give it to a fellowship program director who's going to share it with 20 other people? Why are all these strangers okay reading this document, but you won't give it to your closest friends? All of us want to help each other out. Use that and use each other more, because we all want each other to succeed. Your success is my success, right? Because when one of you becomes a CEO at a hospital in Florida when I'm ready to retire, I'm going to go there and get a nice cushy job because you think I was a nice guy, and then hopefully you hire me, right? Like, we all help each other out eventually. So make sure you're helping each other out now by really helping each other write this, or, with call, with whatever else. And thank you to those who came in for tonight for call, helping your colleagues out. So hospital-specific personal statements. These can be difficult to do. So let's say you want to apply to GI in Yale, right? Or let's say you want to apply to a job at Morristown Medical Center, despite my negative attitude towards it. It is a great hospital. You may want to come and talk to me to ask them, well, what's GI like, or what's general pediatrics like, or who should I talk to there about a job, right? And I can give you some real insight, what they love about themselves, what they don't publish, but they think they're really good at, and you work that type of stuff into your personal statement. The example I typically give is a stupid one where there's a statue of some famous pediatrician in the lobby of a pediatric hospital. And, everybody who walks into the hospital knows that Dr. Bob is, this awesome guy, and they really all feel special to be able to pass that statue every day. And that's what everybody says, right? So then in your personal statement, you would then slip in, and when I go to work at hospital of any town USA, I also want to be able to walk past that statue of Dr. Bob one day and really know that I'm working at a place that changes the world, right? And so you're using what they think that nobody else really knows, or it's not published anywhere. You're using what they think. So by doing that, they know that you know their hospital. They know that you must be like them then, right? And they're going to be much more apt to want to hire you, to want to rank you, despite scores or anything else, because you get them, you know them. So the hard part is, how do you get that information? You got to talk to alumni. You got to talk to people who have been there, who went there. The questions you want to ask are, well, what was it that made you want to go to the hospital every day? What does the hospital think it's really well known for that's not published very much or nobody knows about? Those two things are really helpful. And then you could think of 1,000 other questions to ask them, information that you want to know, but also things that you could work into a personal statement to show how well you know the hospital. This takes work. It takes time that you may not have. I know. But by doing all these things, you can write an outstanding personal statement. Now, let's say you can't get it in time for the personal statement. You're still applying. You won't go on interviews for fellowships. If you're second years, you're not going to be going on fellowship interviews until, maybe September, right? So you got time. If you're going on job interviews right now, you got no time, right? So you have to just do what you can, but reach out to alumni tomorrow that work at the places that you want to get jobs. All right. We are going to skip this one. All right. Again, these are the things that you have to avoid, both in personal statements and also in interviewing. Red flags, spotlight, avoid politics, religion, all the above. Please just avoid it. I'm not telling you to change you. I just don't want you to worry people that you can be like a radical in a way, or other things like that. Don't change who you are, but you don't have to talk about everything. Failures. For failures. You'll be asked about them. I don't recommend highlighting them in your personal statement unless, because you've already finished a residency. There's no point to talk about it that you may have talked about in a residency before. Don't talk about other specialties. Don't put other specialties down. I've seen people do stuff like that. Like, I want to go into pediatric critical care because GI sucks, right? That's stupid. So don't write anything about any other specialty unless you're so excited to collaborate with them, okay? Don't put down a resident team or attending. So putting down residents and other teams and stuff, people don't realize they're doing it sometimes. But when you kind of one up someone and you want to tell a patient story about how you were the one who figured it all out, that's not teamwork. That's showing other people up, and we don't want to hire people like that. So you got to be real careful not to be a glory hog in the story that you tell. That goes along with being pompous or a jackass. All right, and again, it's not any of these things. Do not include any of these things in your personal statement.